Mayor Bogart to begin speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, John. If you would like a mic, you may very unidirectional. Okay, first of all, hello everybody. It's nice to be here. Thank you for coming. And John Dean, thank you especially for your gracious introductions and all your help in putting this together. I've been asked to just give a little bit of history on this never-ending saga of the 710 freeway, which I refer to now as the David and Goliath tale. It's hard to believe that the Long Beach Freeway, the 710, was first discussed by highway planners in the late 1930s, and it became a real project in the 1950s. But back to the 1950s, if you're as old as I am, you'll remember the 1950s. The population was growing rapidly. The economy was booming. It was the area of the suburban shopping center with vast parking lots, California rent-style houses with a car in every garage. Public transportation was out, and cars were in. Caltrans maps from that era show a spiderweb of freeways planned for the entire state. Los Angeles was projected to grow to a population of 8 million persons by the 1970s, and its freeway system of the 1950s was going to easily accommodate that population. We know that some of those ideas were just dreams in people's minds at that point. The battle over the 710 freeway really came to a head, though, in the 1960s, when the freeway was constructed from Long Beach north to Los Angeles at the Alhambra border. During the 70s, 80s, and 90s, there were a number of legal actions, mostly dealt with NEPA, CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act, and the Transportation Act, the 4F. Caltrans and federal highways were instructed by the courts to prepare an environmental impact statement, an EIR or EIS we call it, and the federal agency, the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation, also became involved in the process because of the large number of historic properties all along the route. Additional studies were required. The EIR was circulated for review in the 80s, and in 1992, Federal Highways directed Caltrans to form a mitigation and enhancement committee to reduce the project's negative impacts. And again, some of you may remember this. The mitigation committee began meeting in September of '92, and it was controversial from the beginning. Discussion was restricted to only a few topics, and El Sereno, although most severely impacted by the proposed project, had no neighborhood representation on the mitigation committee at all. The final report was issued in June of '93, and it did recommend reducing the width of the freeway, removal of several ramps, including the interchange with the Pasadena Freeway, and included suggestion that some areas in both Pasadena and South Pasadena have cut and cover. Truck traffic was banned from this scaled-down freeway. This is an important point, because almost immediately we were cautioned by our behind-the-scenes friends at Caltrans and Federal Highways that most likely the truck ban would not be honored, because this freeway was being pushed by the trucking industry and the ports. In 1998, a record of decision or approval was signed. That's referred to as the ROD. Legal challenges continued, and a second injunction was issued by Judge Pregerson in 1999. Okay, now I'm going to fast forward to 2003. Federal Highways withdrew its approval and for the 710 extension through El Sereno, South Pasadena. And at that time, many of us who have been following the freeway just felt that the next steps would be to create local street improvements and to sell the properties owned by Caltrans in the 3 communities. By the way, there are approximately 150 Caltrans-owned properties in the city of Pasadena alone. Following the withdrawal of the approval, a group of residents in West Pasadena, South Pasadena, and El Sereno were approached by Roger Snowbolt, who was then serving as the CEO of MTA. MTA is now called Metro, but in those days it was called the MTA. Mr. Snowbolt raised the idea of building a 710 tunnel to serve as the 710 freeway extension. He and others from Caltrans and SCAG, the Southern California Association of Governments, indicated that the tunnel would cost about $1 billion, which would be less expensive than the surface freeway, which was then no longer under consideration. But as our resident group met and learned more and more about the tunnel, we became more and more skeptical, and we were particularly skeptical of its costs and its impacts. But preliminary studies for the tunnel began, but the studies were once again inadequate, only show that an underground tunnel could be constructed on any of the 5 routes that they chose to study, and that each route has challenges relating to earthquake, faults, water issues, etc. The studies were expensive and offer little to no information on how those problems would be addressed or at what cost. At the same time, and this was an important thing that happened, a professor at Occidental College arranged a workshop for a group of his students to study the 710 controversy. A number of leaders from different communities near the college were invited to participate, and as a result of that Saturday workshop, a group of citizens from nearby communities met and formed the No 710 Action Committee. This group has continued to work in cooperation, and it still to this day meets once a month. The No 710 Action Committee, and there are a number of us around the room today, includes representatives from Highland Park, Glendale, La Crescenta, La Cañada, South Pasadena, Mount Washington, Glassell Park, Eagle Rock, Pasadena, El Sereno, and more. It's also important to note that the city councils of Los Angeles, Glendale, La Cañada, South Pasadena, Sierra Madre, and many neighborhood councils from nearby communities in the LA County area have formally opposed an extension of the 710 freeway anywhere. In 2000, the Pasadena City Council also voted to oppose the freeway. Councilman Chris Holden was not in agreement, and he ran an initiative campaign in a citywide vote urging completion of the 710 freeway. Although those of us on the west side of Pasadena voted in large numbers to oppose freeway completion, the initiative passed and has tied the hands of the City Council. These days, Caltrans has little money and is struggling. Metro, however, has funds from Measure R, which was approved by the voters several years ago. Metro, in cooperation with Caltrans, is now embarking on a full environmental impact study for the 710 freeway, for the 710 tunnel, and also other alternatives. About 18 months ago, public meetings were sponsored by Caltrans and Metro, and they were held here in Pasadena. Representatives from Metro and Caltrans requested input from the different communities as to what alternatives should be studied during the EIR-EIS process for the 710 extension. At the end of those listening sessions, the message from the public to Caltrans and to Metro was very clear. The age of building freeways is over, but you, Caltrans and Metro, are still looking backward to the 1950s. The younger folks who participated were especially clear in asking for more light rail, improved bus service, better public transit. We want to get out of our cars, they said. They were articulate and they were sincere. Everyone urged that rail be built to carry cargo from the ports, especially east to the many warehouses to San Bernardino. But it appears that those messages were never heard. Meanwhile, down in the south, near Long Beach, the draft EIS for the Long Beach Freeway, we call it the Long Beach Freeway South, near the ports is now circulating. Anger and fears from those communities are mounting as residents learn about the proposals for additional lanes for trucks, increased truck traffic, worsening pollution. Metro representatives speak of the need to relieve, this is also an important point, the 5 freeway of trucks so that traffic will move more smoothly in the downtown LA area. Those concerns are adding pressure to widen the 710 freeway south. Meanwhile, the LA Times has article after article about the dangers from pollution in communities near the ports and the 710 south. Make no mistake, this project is being pushed by the trucking interests. We believe that the tunnel alternatives will be chosen as the preferred alternative at the conclusion of this is the 710 North EIR study, now underway. Now, John Schaefer, who will be speaking in a minute, will be providing much more detailed information about the impacts of our project and the impacts on the city. I'm just going to touch on just a few tunnel facts as now proposed for the 710 freeway through El Sereno, South Pasadena, and Pasadena. So get set. There will be 2 4.5-mile tunnels to be constructed from the 10 freeway to the 210-134. The tunnels will be approximately 100 to 150 feet below ground with 4 lanes in each direction. There will be no vehicle entrances or exits between the portals at either end, El Sereno and Pasadena. Emergency exit, once planned, have been removed from consideration. There will only be pedestrian stairways up from the tunnels, and they will not be ADA compliant. If there is a fire or a traffic accident, vehicles needing to escape will be able to use one of the several underground perpendicular tunnels to cross over to exit in the tunnel going in the opposite direction. But obviously there are serious worries about fire, lack of oxygen, and loss of life. Since California does not have the money to build the tunnels, it's likely the state will partner with a foreign country, such as China, to build the tunnels. This is known as a private-public partnership, or the 3 Ps. The tunnels will travel through 4 earthquake faults, including the active Raymond Fault. Construction is anticipated to take 9 to 11 years, and there will be a massive staging area to be built just west of Old Pasadena on the site of the current freeway stub. The streets that cross the staging area, Del Mar, Green, and Colorado, will be demolished and then rebuilt at a later point. Local geologists explain that the settling of the earth around the tunnels during and after construction will cause serious damage to the foundations of structures above the tunnels and for a significant distance on either side of the tunnels. The earth settling could continue for several years after the construction has been completed. The polluted air from within the tunnels will be blown out at either end of the tunnels and will immediately impact surrounding neighborhoods. In my area, that would impact Sequoia School, Waverly School, Maryland, the high school, the Ronald McDonald House, Old Pasadena, numerous convalescent and senior homes, and the Huntington Hospital. Of course, all of our neighborhoods will see a significant increase in pollution from the trucks exiting the tunnels and traveling across the 210 to the 5 freeway or east to San Bernardino. So I, along with the other speakers today, look forward to the Metro, the participation of Metro. Of course, as we know, they aren't here because they would have been able to speak also about the alternatives. But we have, of course, still the opportunity here from Michael Calcioti and John Schaefer. But in conclusion, all of us are here to urge you to help us in supporting the study of cargo rail, improvements to the Alameda Corridor, extension of the Gold Line, and other public transit projects, each of which will cost a fraction of the infamous tunnel. It's crucial that we in Pasadena become informed, work together with our neighbors, and move into this process so that our voices will be heard along with those of our nearby communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bogart. Our next speaker will be Michael Calcioti. Michael?
Thanks, John. You did a lot of research on us here. Excuse the dress. I just came from a mulch compost giveaway in South Pasadena where we're shoveling for about 2 hours. A little dirty. I didn't have time to change on the way over here. We're very active. Claire, thanks a lot. And I'll go through it. If John or Claire just want to jump in, feel free to go ahead. We'll title this Improving San Gabriel Valley Mobility because Claire just want to jump in, feel free to go ahead. We'll title this Improving San Gabriel Valley Mobility because Caltrans is always focusing on just this north-south, one little tunnel type of thing. We're looking at the Caltrans is always focusing on just this north-south, one little tunnel type of thing. We're looking at the big picture. I'm going to put it in perspective today for you. So the problem is that's what would be created by more freeways, more tunnels on the left, almost a spider of freeways and junction. The solution we really feel is mass transportation, light rail, etc., heavy rail. You've got the iconic bridge structure there over Baldwin near the 210 eastbound. So, a little perspective. Let's go back to 1944, World War II era. This was the Pacific Electric Railway. This was their footprint at its height. At its height. So look here, 4 counties. I also said on the South Coast, AQMD. These are our 4 counties. LA, Orange, San Bernardino, Riverside. Look at this system all the way to San Bernardino, all the way to Riverside, all the way to Orange County, along the beaches, Pasadena, all this area along the foothills, San Gabriel Mountains, San Bernardino Mountains. That was a system that existed in 1944, started late 1800s with the railroads. Look at it, 109 million passengers every year, 1,000 miles of track. We're getting back to that. So what's this current study Claire was talking about? Just some bullet points called SR 710 Environmental Study. What are they evaluating? So let's always look at Caltrans and Metro are doing. transportation options to improve mobility. How can we get people from A to C or A to D fast? Relieve congestion, all the backup on our freeways. Northeast, let's look at the area. Northeast Los Angeles, San Gabriel Valley, they consider a range of multimodal alternatives to propose effects. Here are the 5 alternatives. Well, we didn't just start with 5. This group got together, engineering, Metro, Caltrans, before they really even told us. I know I talked to Bill one day, Bogart, and other mayors in San Gabriel Valley, and we went to a Metro meeting and said, by the way, we're down to 70 alternatives. What'd you start with? You never told us you were starting. You said they had hundreds, then they were down to 40, then they were down to the 12, which had a couple through Pasadena on the west side, and now they're down to the final 5. And these are the final 5 they're studying. They're having meetings every month. There's a meeting this Thursday. They have different groups. One I go to is called the Stakeholder SOAC, Stakeholder Outreach Advisory Committee. They allow us elected officials and committee leaders to come. They kind of just tell us, and we always raise our hand and I protest. They take the minutes down, but they don't listen. So here's the 5 alternatives: no-build transportation system, demand management, bus, light rail, freeway tunnel. Let's look at these. Now, this is a study area. So imagine, what we did, they almost took a hand where the 710 kind of stops right here, and they looked at west, straight, and all the way out east. So we're looking at the 60, the 10, the 210, all the way out here to the 605, Baldwin Park, West Covina. But notice over here, too, they kind of taken Glendale, Northeast Los Angeles, all the downtown area over here. So this is kind of their study area. You try to understand what Caltrans and Metro are looking at. This is a study area that they're going to assess. Now, they developed this purpose, and we feel they really got to re-examine it. I'm not sure if it's accurate. The lack of continuous north-south transportation facilities in the study area affects overall efficiency of a larger regional transportation system. So it contributes to cut-through traffic. So this is their purpose. This is why we're doing a study. And there's a problem with traffic in north-south. But we think what they forgot to do was look at east-west, and I'll show you in a little while. You're going to see along the 10, the 210, the 60 freeways why just looking north-south without putting this in perspective, without looking at these, all they're doing is looking at this. That's their purpose. So already at the beginning of the study, we think there's a flaw. You've got to really look at all the traffic, because traffic doesn't just go east-west. It comes in and goes downtown. It comes in and goes downtown. Now, this is the first, the no-build alternative you saw. And that means we don't have to do anything. But why is this? It's required by NEPA, CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act, National Environmental Policy Act. So there's already a Southern California Association of Governments. That's 5 or 6 counties that come together, and they have what they call a Regional Transportation Plan, RTP. If you didn't build anything at all, if you didn't build the 710, whatever of those 5 options, just there hundreds of projects, and metros, dozens, hundreds of projects, would make massive improvements to transportation just by themselves, without even doing any improvements. You know, they've got the Gold Line extension opening in 2015 to Azusa. So those are considered. Now, this is what they call TSM, TDM, second alternative. We're actually combining 2 of them together here. Transportation System Management. All it is, you know, where the 710 ends in Valley, let's improve that junction. Let's improve that intersection. Get traffic off there and move more smoothly. Transportation Demand Management, basically promoting public transit. Have you ever tried to take a bus? Some of our students, ask any of you to go to, take a bus out to like Cal State LA, take a bus out to Cal Poly Pomona. How long does it take? So a couple of our students in South Pass go to Cal Poly Pomona, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go out with you one day and see how long it takes you to get out there. How long do you think it took when I caught the bus to 176 at Mission and Garfield to get to Cal Poly Pomona? 2 hours and 10 minutes after 3, get down. El Monte, transfer in the middle of the street. An industrial area sitting here for 20 minutes waiting for the next bus. It's a very, they've got a good foundation, but it's a very poor system. It's got to improve significantly. So that's what these would do, really improve the system. So people can say, I want to take a bus, but I don't want to sit there. I have to transfer 3 times to get to Cal Poly Pomona. And I'm sitting in the middle of El Monte in an industrial center at 7 a.m. in the morning, then, it's not very safe. So here's the tunnel option Claire talked about. This was a first. 2 twin-bore tunnels. There's 1 bore. Here's the second bore. Southbound SR 710, northbound. 2 levels. Both going northbound at the top, both going northbound at the bottom. And you've got shoulders, etc., for emergency vehicles. Claire talked about the size, etc. Recently, they came up with the initial was 2 twin-bore tunnels with 4 lanes each direction. Recently, this was just a couple months ago, I think, Claire, they had a single-bore tunnel. So instead of the 2, we'll have 1. At the top, 2 will go north. At the bottom, 2 will go south. We're wondering why they're doing that. Maybe it's because it'll save money and it'll bring the price down. I'm not sure, but that just came out of nowhere recently, one of their revisions. Other things, operational, Claire talked about, will there be trucks? They say no, but we know it's the trucking industry, ports, goods movement, hours of operation, tolls, all these issues, we're not sure what's going to happen. They keep changing every month. The cost, $5.4 billion, has been estimated low. We've heard as high as $10, $15 billion. Air quality in the portals as you come out. They say there's technology to test it. I'm on the AQMD board. I've been to Washington, met with EPA. There's no guaranteed technology now that can actually clean it up. They say there is. I haven't seen it. So this is the other option, a bus, BRT, bus rapid transit. So let's go down here and start. This is the 60 freeway, put it for the 10. 210's up here. This is right around Atlantic. Just below the 60, they would improve bus. There's already existing bus service, the 260 line. Taken a number of times. I've ridden my bike down here. So it starts here below the 60, would go up. And these different yellow, brown, which would mean maybe they're dedicated for just the bus, or shared. And this would be just dedicated for the bus. We haven't agreed to it at South Pass, but that's what they're trying to say. So it would be a really rapid bus system, better than they have now, going all the way up. Which is good. We need that improvement. This is a light rail rapid transit option, which are really, some of us are promoting. Some say they don't want a rapid transit, but this is one option. Again, starting down here. Here's a problem I see with this. Let me tell you. Great idea, but what they want to do is they'll start it down here just south of the 60. Has anybody taken the Gold Line to its terminus there? It ends at Atlantic. Take the Gold Line, just for your own, try it one time. Take the Gold Line where it starts up here. Come all the way down through Los Angeles. You've got great stop in Little Tokyo right there, some great restaurants. And you continue through Boyle Heights. Get over here to East LA Civic Center, the courthouse down there, the health department, the sheriff's station, the library, thousands of people using that. It ends right here at Atlantic in the middle of nowhere. Atlantic about, 300 feet south of the 60. What they want to do, and actually it's a nice start of an idea, start a light rail. It would go along the ground, and then would kind of go along the 710, elevated all the way to Cal State LA. Great. You've got 26,000 students or so, Cal State LA, stop there. Then we continue, when it hit Valley, go underground, stop in Alhambra, South Pass, connect up with Fillmore Station. Now, here's a problem. You know what they miss? Let me show you. Sam, can you turn that big one around? Is it turned around? Okay, look over here once. Bring it over here, Sam, in the middle so they can see it. I'm sorry about that. What I did was I blew this up because when you look at these maps, you really can't tell till you get out there and drive your car around, ride your bike, walk around. So, Claire said, Metro's got to choose among these options which one's going to win. The tunnel, the light rail, the bus, transportation demand management. And they're going to measure how many cars go through the tunnel. Well, how many people are going to take the light rail? Well, it starts down here. It's going to stop in the middle of nowhere, Floral. It'll get Cal State a lot of students. There's 26,000 students, teachers. It'll stop. Oh, okay. That may get a couple cars off. Guess what they're missing? And we bring up every time at the meeting. I'm there every month. You see something here that said East LA College? Guess what? If you can look on here, right down here, the second, right before the final stop where it ends, right below the 60, not even 0.7 of a mile north. I've walked it, I've done it on my car, I've done it on my bike. They will miss East LA College. Guess how many students go there? 36,000 students. Thousands of teachers, dozens of sporting events each month. In a stadium with soccer games, football games, baseball, softball. So, they deliberately skipped it and go to this little street called Mednick, which I've been on my bike. Is nothing but, there's a couple apartments there, condos in the middle of nowhere. They're going to have a stop, a mile from the university. And I say, why don't you have a stop? Why don't you stop directly? Why don't you start here and hit East LA College? Why are you going to miss it? It's right there. Oh, well, kids can walk 1 mile to school. You know something? I said, have you been out there to try it? I rode my bike. So when you're out here, what you've got to do is you've got to, as you get off of the gold line, it's terminus right here, and you walk towards the college at night. It's a little dark, a little scary. But not only that, you've got to cross 2 off-ramps, 2 on-ramps at the 60, cars flying off there in the industrial area, and then get up and cut over. So here's one of the big flaws. Just to give you some perspective of what's happening. You've got to get out there and just walk around and see the idea. So can you imagine 40,000 people a day they're missing? So that's just some perspective. This is now when I talked about east-west traffic. Working at Caltrans for 10 years before I got elected, I had to leave, so there's no conflict. But I know traffic volumes. This is what's important, where Caltrans is missing the point. These are ADT, average daily traffic volumes on the 710 freeway. In this area, here's the 605. So this is in your area, between Pasadena, Arcadia, right here, Overdale. 301,000 cars a day, average daily traffic. Here's the 10 freeway. Baldwin Park area right over here, 236,000 a day, go eastward every single day. Now look right here, this is one of the busiest freeways in the region, probably the second busiest, right close to the 405. 367,000 vehicles a day on the 60 freeway, just once you get past the 57 right here going to downtown. So here's a problem, Caltrans. That's why I want you to just put all these things in the back of your head, because when you make a decision, Caltrans is just saying, no, we've got this little north-south stuff. What they forgot to do is the fastest growing counties in the state, guess where they are? Number 1, San Bernardino. Number 2, Riverside. So can you imagine what's going to happen to these over the next 10 years as the economy kicks back in? 300,000, 400,000, it's not going to move. And the goods movement, which a lot of this is goods movement coming out of the ports along here, is going to come to a standstill. So these are things to keep in mind. This is the State Route 710 right now, just coming out of the ports. See PCH right there. Look at the trucks. This is the 60 freeway, again near the 57, like that almost all day. This is the 10 freeway, typical. The 210 freeway, as most of you know, is approaching 605 right there. And I was on it yesterday at 2 o'clock coming back from the dentist, and it looked just like that coming eastbound at 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. It wasn't even moving. So what happened? They talk about a gap closure. What happened the last time they closed the gap? Remember out here in the 210, they connected it out to the 15? Well, here's what happened with traffic. From 1996, you can see the totals. Traffic increase after the eastern extension, daily measurement. So we're going over here. All the traffic total. Look at this after the completion. Look at this increase in traffic up to 250,000. But look at the truck traffic. And I know if you've lived here, last 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, you've seen once that opened, there was a total difference in pattern of traffic with the trucks. Anytime you're out there now, it's almost as bad as the 60. I come back from meetings with the Council of Governments on a Thursday night, and at dark you can just see a line of trucks, almost like it's one truck for 100 miles. They're so close together that the light along the top of the cab, there's almost no difference. Whereas before, you see 1 or 2 trucks here and there. Now, massive transformation pattern. Again, Claire brought this point up. Let's go back a little history. You've got to put everything in perspective. LA, California population, 1960, 15.7 million people. What is it today? It'll soon be triple. It's more than double. So when Caltrans was looking at these things back in the 50s and 60s, I don't blame the planners because actually they're pretty smart, but they said our population is growing, we need to do something. Here's the projected population. Here's LA County. 6 million people back when Caltrans was talking about this, 10 million today. And the 4-county region, Riverside, San Orange, LA, 17 million people. Now, this is a little point. Mass transit system in 1991. I have the 0 there. I want to show you something. This was... here's a photo of our mass transportation system now. This is what existed in 1991. This was our mass transit system. No. This is what existed in 1991. Let me tell you why. As Clara said, what happened in 1960s with the picture you saw of the Pacific Electric car? What happened? Who killed the electric car? They took out the final tracks in the early 1960s. There were no more trains. They took them out. So what happened? In 1963, basically, there was not one train, just buses and cars. So, and I don't blame Cal. I look at Caltrans now, they're back in the 60s. this was all they had. They only thought about freeways. Gas was cheap. There was no trains. They took them out. Everybody wanted to drive. California is wide open if you're driving out here. Quick background. 1970, Amtrak says, hold on a second. Nixon signs the Bill National Passenger Transportation Act. Amtrak is conceived. Starting in 1970, started acquiring some railroads in the Northeast. Washington, Boston, New York, first line. That starts opening up. Not until late 80s, or mid-80s, you have little Chicago to San Diego to Los Angeles. Still really nothing. There's a couple little dots of an Amtrak starting. So by 1990, the first blue line is built. Then 93, we have Metrolink comes in. And Amtrak by the 90s is starting to go. So you're going to start to see in a moment. That was it in 1991. This is it today. So there's a big difference. This is just a Metrolink system itself. You see all the lines went out to San Bernardino, Riverside, Orange County. And if you haven't taken it, it's exciting. I've gone to 2 weddings in the summer down in it was Oceanside. You got off San Juan Capistrano, took the cab right there. Exciting. The Metrolink system's really good now. Most people take it in. Goes to Burbank Airport all the way up. This is our current metro system. Again, 1990, none of this existed. None of this. So in the 60s when Caltrans was thinking, I don't blame them because none of this was here. This was the first system, the light rail system, the blue line down to Long Beach. There's 6 systems, 2 heavy rail. The 2 heavy rail, the red line system out here where it stops, North Hollywood, then you got the orange line, and the purple line, which is pretty good. I've taken that just last week. Had to go to Western and Wilshire, and it starts at downtown Union Station, at the Gold Line, etc. So this is our current system, which is excellent. This is the Gold Line system, as you see, Sierra Madre. Please take it one time just to get the feel down here at Atlantic. It only takes about 35 minutes from South Pass to get there. Now, here's why we think light rail is a big thing. This is a Gold Line existing right now. We're saying finish it out to Azusa, and then get it all the way out here to Montclair, phase 2A, and then get it to Ontario Airport. Get to an airport. And here's the other thing we're saying is, you're actually looking at, that's the Gold Line Foothill extension. We're also studying the Gold Line East Side extension out here, get it out here to 605. We're pushing for that. They already planned it. They're actually looking at 2 options, out here or down to Whittier. Why not continue it all the way out here, hook these up and do a loop? Why not just, you're talking about the gap closure, missing gap. Here's the missing gap. Here's the gaps that are missing. Hook this up through East LA College, Cal State LA, Pasadena City College. Gold Line Foothill extension to Montclair, tells you just transportation about it, what you're doing, the jobs, the growth. Gold Line extension, how much it costs, $735 million out to Azusa, then Azusa to Montclair, $850 million, which we don't have yet. Just shows you where it's going to go to. Look at right here where it stops. 2 colleges, what are they? A Citrus College and Azusa Pacific. Right there, right on campus, right across the street. That's under construction right now. Azusa, Irwindale, Duarte, Monrovia, Arcadia. Look at all the exciting things at all the different Ontario Airport, Claremont, Azusa Station, Citrus College. These are right next to each other. Right off Citrus on the 210, just north of about a mile. And here's the benefits and bad things that Claire talked about actually. And this is your lungs. Metro and Caltrans say when you open a freeway, it's going to reduce pollution. There's no way. You put another 200,000 cars here, it doesn't. And one of our studies here, let me find this one. We actually did a study in South Pasadena. We had 2 clean air car shows, or actually 4 clean air car shows over the years. And we had one where we did a test. I said, okay, also I'm your representative on the South Coast Air Quality Management District Board. So we said, you see these 2 samplers right here? We sampled along Fremont near Mission, right before we get to the 110 freeway there. And we just tested PM, particulate matter. That's stuff that comes from cars, from dust being blown up, from power plants. And it's solid particles and kind of liquid particles that get together and you inhale. It causes respiratory problems, things like that. So bad for your health. So we tested. This was what the filter looked like before we tested, and that's what it looked like after we tested in 2008. And that should have been the 2012 test. Actually, 12 was better, and the main reason was because the economy went down, less cars on the road. But both This one exceeded the state standards for healthy air. So that's the air we're breathing in our region right now. And these are the tests that we've done at AQMD, our chemists and scientists have done. And there's no way it's going to get better if a freeway is built. Again, just says more benefits of the stations, economic benefits, billions of dollars, sense of place. Why not, we're saying, why not build out west instead of a tunnel? Take a light rail system out to Bob Hope Airport. Take it so it goes by Glendale Community College, the Americana. Have a light rail system out there. Just a couple thoughts in closing. Light rail, will it be successful? Here we have the opening of the Gold Line in 2003. 361,000, look on this side, your left. 361,000 people per month ridership. What's that, about 12,000 a day? Look what it is today. 2013, almost 1.1 million people a month. When that opens up, the first day it opens up in September 2015 to Azusa, you're going to see that number go up exponentially. And if you've taken a Gold Line like I do every week or every other week, I'm riding my bike on it or taking it to work downtown, sometimes I can't get on. It's so packed at rush hour. And what I do, and the secret is downtown, you probably know this, if you've got to get on the Gold Line, walk over to Little Tokyo Station, because sometimes Union Station, I see people that take it, you're not going to get on, you're going to get on, you're going to be squished, and you're going to be standing the whole way. It's almost, when I take it now, I'm almost standing all the time. It's that successful. And I've told them at the last meeting, I told the council governments, the mayors, and Mr. Pedroza from Claremont, the mayor, I said, Sam, you better add more trains. And the problem now, you've got 6-minute headways. You go into 5-minute headways, it's going to be incredible when this opens up. Imagine when that goes all the way out to Montclair and the airport. So big things. So thank you very much for your time.
Michael, thank you very much for that presentation. Our next speaker is John Schaefer.
Hi, thank you very much. I have a presentation as well. We'll do the switch over here. Just 1 second. There we go. Oh, thank you. Drive this correctly. There we go. Hi, again, my name is John Schaefer. I'm a resident over in the San Rafael neighborhood. I live just down here south of the 134 freeway. And I've lived in Pasadena and San Gabriel Valley pretty much all of my life, so I know a lot of the history of the 710 Long Beach Freeway debate as Claire does. But because it didn't really affect me the way it has affected a lot of people, at least I didn't perceive it as affecting me, I didn't really get educated about the topic until the last year. And the reason why I got educated about the topic was because about a year ago, Metro came out with its, I think Mike referred to the 12 set of alternatives, and one of those alternatives was to build a freeway right literally through my front yard, over in the San Rafael neighborhood. My neighborhood organized very effectively, made our voices be heard, and as a consequence, that alternative did get dropped off the table. And you'd say, well, then maybe I should just be celebrating and be done with being involved in the 710 fight. The answer is absolutely not, because during the time that I experienced this possibility of a freeway being built literally in my front yard, I came to learn a lot about this project, and not just how it was going to affect me personally, but the city of Pasadena as a whole, and San Gabriel Valley, and the Los Angeles County as a whole, and I came to realize that this project didn't make sense anywhere, whether it was in my neighborhood or anybody else's neighborhood, and that's why I'm here this morning on a Saturday morning where, I'm sure it's a beautiful day out there, and I'll get you out there as quickly as possible, but I did want to share that with you. Now, I won't go over some of the things that Mike went over very briefly, though. This is the study area, and as Mike said, the purpose of the study was to study north-south traffic in this general area, the study area being the entire white area, Pasadena being drawn in blue. But quite frankly, the study is really focused on one very narrow area in this broad study area, and it's where this red circle is. What caused this study to happen was the 710 freeway, and where this study is headed is the 710 freeway. And while there are a number of alternatives that are being studied, and I won't go into these in a lot of detail now because Mike already did, the bus rapid transit alternative, the light rail alternative, the TSM, PDM alternative that Mike also explained. The truth of the matter is this study is really geared towards justifying the tunnel, and the reason why all of these are being studied is so that an environmental impact report can be completed where Metro can say, yes, we did study all these other alternatives. But the big money, the political interests are clearly behind this alternative, which is the tunnel. And as you can see, it starts down here, East LA, Alhambra area, and heads right up into the heart of Pasadena. So some tunnel basics, and Claire and Mike already covered some of these. They're twin, whether they're 5 mile or 4.9 mile, I'm not going to debate. It's whatever they are, is they're very long tunnels. There would be no exits from the time you leave Valley Boulevard here all the way up here till you get to the 210 freeway in Pasadena. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment because it has some significant impacts for this neighborhood in particular. Mike gave you a sketch of what the tunnels look like. This is actually a picture of what the tunnels will look like, or at least an artist's conception. So you'd see 2 twin-bore tunnels, 2 lanes on top of 2 lanes. The only thing that's different here, because I'm not a very good artist, is I've got the traffic going opposite directions in each one. In fact, there'll actually be 2 over 2 going that way, and then 2 over 2 going the other way. But you get the point. And as Claire said, there'll be no exits for this tunnel, no access, no ways out of this tunnel for miles. So if there is an emergency in this tunnel, for example, a fire, the only way to get out of here is to walk through. There'll be little passageways that will go through to the other tunnel. However, what Mike told you, and it's really quite disturbing, is that because Metro is now realizing that the cost of building both of these tunnels may be more than they can afford at this time, they're talking about building just one of them now. Well, if there's just one of them now, and you're 2 or 3 miles away from the end of the tunnel, there's not going to be a walkway over to the other tunnel. You're just going to be stuck in this tunnel with whatever is happening in it. So Metro has yet to explain to us what the emergency protocol is going to be if there's only one of these tunnels. So here it's no exits for 5 miles. There's traffic stops. There's no way out. You can't back up. You're just going to sit there. And emergency vehicles are going to have to go in there from either the Pasadena end or the Alhambra end, because there's going to be no way to get a fire truck or an ambulance or a tow truck or a police car in there except from those ends. And at least at this point, Metro has not worked out with our city's emergency responders about how they're going to be trained to do that, who's going to pay for them to be on call, who's going to back them up when they're 2 or 3 miles into that tunnel and there's a fire going on. So this is one of the many questions that have yet to be answered. Claire talked about the tunnel crossing earthquake faults. This is a profile of the tunnel, and just so you understand, this is the Pasadena end here, and that's the Alhambra, East LA end down there. The green line is the profile of the tunnel itself as it would dig underneath the different neighborhoods. This here is basically like where Raymond Hill is, right where South Pasadena starts, down into South Pasadena, down into El Sereno. The red lines are earthquake faults, known earthquake faults, including the Raymond fault, which is a fairly significant fault. People who live down near the Huntington Hotel know this is a reason why the land actually drops there behind the Huntington Hotel, and you get that beautiful view. It's because there's an earthquake fault there, and that's right here. So this tunnel is going to cross all of these earthquake faults. That's not unprecedented. There are tunnels that do cross earthquake faults, but it does add to the risk and it adds to the engineering and to the cost of doing this. And what is the cost? Well, we have gotten numbers all over the map from different people as to what the cost is. And Claire referred to the fact that Mr. Snowball at one time told her that it would be $1 billion. And each of these squares is $1 billion, by the way. Kind of an odd way to show $1 billion, but so there's $1 billion. Nobody believes that. Right now, they're talking maybe $5.6 billion, but there have been numbers that we've been given by different reports and studies over $10 billion up to $14 billion. Whatever it is, it's a lot of money. And that assumes no cost overruns. Now, how are they going to pay for that? Well, they have $700 billion or more of your tax money right now, your sales tax money, to pay for some of this. But $700 million doesn't get you to $5.6 billion, does it? So they're going to have to come up with other ways to finance this. And clearly one of those ways is going to be with tolling. And we've heard numbers $5 to $15 a toll trip. But it could be more. And you will see that, and we're going to talk about trucks in a moment. This is one of the reasons why there are going to be a lot of trucks in this tunnel, because the only way they're going to get those kind of tolls, $15 or more, is from truck drivers. And so they need the truck drivers in order to pay for the tunnel. And that is a serious concern for us. And I don't know how many of you have followed the stories down in Orange County with the Orange County toll roads having their financial difficulties. We're all kidding ourselves if we don't think that even with these tolls, that at the end of the day, the taxpayers aren't going to have to bail this thing out or kick in some more money. Because I'm a financial lawyer by trade. I've done the analysis with the projected traffic they're talking about. Even if they're getting $15 a trip, they're still a couple of $1 billion short of taxpayer money in order to get this thing done. Now, they will have some people paying the toll because they're projecting somewhere between 160 and 200,000 cars and trucks per day going through the tunnel. That's a picture of the 210 freeway, but that is kind of what 150, 200,000 cars and trucks a day looks like. Now, we've seen different numbers. I don't change my presentation every time they change the number on me because otherwise I'd be changing it all the time. But this is more or less the range. Now, where are these cars coming from? They will tell you that these cars are, well, it's cut through traffic. It's people driving through neighborhoods in these towns. No. In fact, that's just a small portion of that 160 to 200,000 cars a day. This is why they're doing this. The red line is the 5 freeway going through downtown. A very congested freeway, without question. Something should be done with the 5 freeway. Absolutely. I'm not here to say that there aren't traffic problems in this city. I know I drive every day. I understand it. The 5 is a congested freeway. The solution for cleaning out the congestion on the 5, and this has been the main rationale for this freeway for 50 years, is to build a bypass through South Pasadena and through Pasadena to take the cars and trucks off of this freeway and move them into our town. And that has been the rationale for this project from day one. It's not the one they'll always say, but if you go back and you look at newspapers from the 1960s, 1970s, when you see different chambers of commerce supporting this freeway, that was their rationale. Move the traffic out of downtown and into our town. Now, let's talk a little bit about ground zero here of what this tunnel is going to do. Now, everyone has known South Pasadena's concerns for the freeway for many, many, many years. But what people haven't thought about so much is that tunnels have ends or freeways have ends. And in this case, the north end is right here in the middle of Pasadena. And in a more detailed look, I can just show you. So the tunnel would come up. This is South Pasadena down here. This is the Pasadena Freeway. Tunnel would come up right underneath Westridge School, come to an end here right next to Huntington Hospital. And I mean literally right next to Huntington Hospital, right where Sequoia School currently is situated. The yellow on this map are school sites. The blue is Huntington Hospital. If right somewhere in this area between Huntington Hospital and Maranatha is probably where they're going to build their exhaust vent, because all the 5 miles of pollution that are building up in the tunnel here have to come out somewhere. Now, they've talked about maybe they build it up a little bit further north next to the North Simon Museum instead, as if that's better, but it is somewhere going to be in this area here, the exhaust vent. The tunnel will then come out right around Maranatha High School out of a cut-to-cover structure and then run up to the existing interchange here where the 134 and the 210 come in. Now, what that means, though, is all this traffic is going to be dumping out here and having to go either onto the 210 or the 134 because there will be no exits here. So if you're driving north from South Bay, Long Beach, coming into Pasadena, and you want to go to Pasadena out of this tunnel, your only places to go out are going to be right here in this neighborhood at Mount Avenue or over at the Lake Avenue exit, and we all know what that's like already, or over here at the San Rafael exit, because there'll be no other way out for those people. Also, those current exits that exist down here at Del Mar in California are going to be closed. So again, anyone who's trying to go to Old Pasadena, to North Simon area, will instead be forced to get off up here in this neighborhood in Mountain and drive down, rather than use the exits they used to use down there. And you can see this traffic is going to go by many, many school sites. Roosevelt Elementary, New Horizon, Chandler, Muir. I mean, these are a lot of schools that are all within just a few yards of this freeway path. And the students who go to those schools are going to be exposed to the pollution that comes out of this tunnel every single day. This is just more of a detailed diagram, actually, right where the tunnel comes out of the ground. This is sideways, north is to the left. So Huntington Hospital is here, the Vons, it's across the street, California is right there. The tunnel, this is where Sequoia School currently is. The tunnel would come out right where Sequoia School is. Maranatha High School's right here. North Simon's over to the right there. The tunnel will come out of a bored tunnel that's actually dug by the boring machine. We'll see a picture of that in a moment. We'll then go into a massive trench because the tunnel is going to be over 100 feet down when it comes out of the ground. So right now that trench down there, and I admit it's pretty ugly. Something needs to be done with that trench down there. But that trench right now is about 30, 35 feet deep. It's going to be over 100 feet deep in order to make this tunnel work. So they're going to dig down another 70 feet in that trench. In order to do that, those bridges where Del Mar crosses and where Green and Colorado and Union cross, they were built for 30 feet deep. They weren't built for 100 feet deep. So each one of these bridges here at Del Mar and Union, Colorado, Green will have to be torn down, closed, and then rebuilt. And you can just imagine the disruption for the city during that time. And I'll talk a little bit more about the construction disruption in a moment. I want to go through, and that'll be one of the what I call the myths of the tunnel. The first myth being there won't be a lot of trucks. Now, Claire told you that the city of Pasadena did have a referendum 11 years ago. Well, I can't remember exactly. It was more than a decade ago. And the majority of the people in the city did vote to complete the Long Beach Freeway. And I respect that. I believe in the democratic process. If voters say they want something, I do believe politicians should listen, and I do fully respect that. However, what was sold to the voters in 2001 was a freeway with a truck ban. All of the advertising for that initiative said there would be a truck ban. right now, they are saying, well, we'll consider a truck ban, but as you saw with those numbers, they can't, because they can't build it without trucks. And if you look, there's a natural reason why the trucking industry wants this tunnel. Down here, not just the ports, but also all of the industry that you have down in the southern part of Los Angeles County and spreading over in Orange County, needs a way out. And I respect that, again, because the ports are an important part of our economy. But the route that they are considering, the way out, is right through our neighborhood. It's to move trucks up the 710 freeway and then either up the 210 towards the Grapevine or out the 210 towards the Inland Empire. And if you look at different things that Metro itself has put out over the time, it's talked about the significant traffic from the port area heading towards major distribution areas. This was a USC study. Metro talks about completing the natural goods corridor. These are things that Metro itself wrote about before we started raising this issue. And they said, oh, no, maybe we won't have trucks. And in fact, Southern California Association of Governments, which Claire had mentioned, also did a study which concluded that due to the importance of truck traffic, it's critical to allow truck traffic in the tunnel. This is what the Southern California Associations of Government have said. And this is a study they did themselves a few years ago that they've since withdrawn and taken off of every website because they don't want the public to see it. And it shows the impact of trucks coming out of the tunnel. So here's the tunnel. Here's where we are today, right where my finger is. And you can see the percentage of traffic that will be on these freeways that's truck traffic once the tunnel is completed. Over 20% in the dark areas, 16 to 20% in this entire corridor here through northeast Pasadena. Also, significant truck traffic going out the 210 freeway through east Pasadena. This is a truck funnel, and it's pointed right at us. 710 will ease congestion, not just, they're saying, first of all, don't worry about the trucks, but they're also saying the 710 is going to be a godsend in terms of clearing congestion out of our freeways and out of Pasadena. Not true. And Mike and I share slides, so we both are very familiar from 10 years ago when the 210 freeway opened further east. And I will admit that if you're trying to get out to like Big Bear or something, it's really nice that freeway opened up out there for that purpose. But we all know what it did to the 210 freeway here through Pasadena. It made traffic much worse. But that's not what they told us. They promised us. They said this is going to ease congestion, take this gap closure will remove cars from local streets. This was the advertising for this extension. But as Mike showed, this was the reality. The green line is when the freeway opened. And instantaneously, the traffic on the 210 freeway through our area spiked dramatically. Car traffic went from 200 to 250. Truck traffic went from 12 to 18,000 a day. Instantaneously because of that expansion. Now, what's going to happen here? Well, this is Metro's own study, so you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt that this is best case. But this is from Metro's latest report they put out just about a month ago. And what it shows is, so here's the tunnel coming up into Pasadena. Significant increases in traffic all the way up here through northeast Pasadena on the 210, because that's where the cars are principally going to go. More traffic going through West Pasadena on the 134. Now, Metro thinks there isn't going to be much of a change on the 210. I don't believe it, but like I said, this is best case, except they do admit that because I showed you how there isn't going to be an exit until you get onto the 210, they admit that Lake Avenue is going to be getting a lot worse, and it will. This is another study that was done, and I know this is sort of a little bit hard to focus on, but what you should actually focus on is, see, this is without the tunnel, and this is with the tunnel, and basically sort of more pleasing colors like green or no traffic, and more warning colors like reds or lots of traffic. And the fascinating thing, there are a couple of things I want to point out in this map. So this is if they don't build the tunnel, this is if they do build the tunnel. So this is Los Robles Avenue, which is, one of the main rationales for this tunnel is let's take cars off the local streets. Los Robles, it shows, is a congested street. We all know that, red. But with the tunnel, no difference. But here's where the difference is. Up here through northeast Pasadena, the 210 freeway, once you get past this awful interchange, is actually a fairly tolerable freeway. But with the tunnel, red. They're going to take the congestion problem and bring it to this neighborhood. Just some more, again, we're talking about the more congestion with the tolls. There are going to be a lot of people who are going to want to pay the toll. They're going to get off the freeway, drive through your neighborhoods. It doesn't make things better. It makes things worse. The tunnel release pollution. This is one of the biggest myths of all. This is we had to burn the village in order to save it argument. And it's essentially, by building more freeways, we're going to make your air cleaner. It is a silly argument, and yet you will hear them repeat it over and over and over again. And it is just simply not true. It is true that idling cars do pollute a lot. That if you park a car and you just leave its engine on, it's going to pollute, in essence, an infinite amount per mile because it's not moving, but it's polluting. But so what this shows is that when a car is standing still, it's a bad thing. It pollutes, it's not moving, so the pollution per mile is very high. But once you get up into just average driving speeds, after you had that initial improvement, pollution starts to increase again. So that when you get up here to freeway speeds, which is what they're trying to do, you'll actually see that cars pollute as much at freeway speeds as they produce at idling speeds. So this notion that we need to move the cars faster in order to make pollution go away is simply not true. In fact, pollution will be just as bad, if not worse, with these cars moving at freeway speeds, and they're going to be, remember, 150,000 to 200,000 more of them because of the tunnel. Construction will not hurt Pasadena. Well, this is just to give you an image of what our future is. This is a tunnel boring machine. This was actually small. There's people down there. This one's actually smaller than the tunnel boring machine that they would have to use here, because our tunnel is actually bigger than that even. I mean, it's kind of cool from sort of if you like watching the Science Channel. I just don't really want it here, thank you. And so they're actually putting one of these monsters into the ground. But so here you can see the impact on Pasadena. So this is Pasadena. Here's the Rose Bowl. Here's where we are today. Here's the tunnel coming up to Purple, Huntington Hospital again. So this is ground zero construction. This is where the current ditch is right now. They're about to dig. Remember I told you they're about to take that from 35 feet down to 100. All that dirt plus 5 miles of tunnel dirt is going to have to go somewhere. Now, they're going to take a lot out down at the south end for the El Sereno people to have to deal with, but we're going to get at least half of it ourselves. About 500,000 truckloads coming out of here, and they're either going to have to go north on the 210 to find some place to dump it out in the desert, or they're going to have to go east on the 210 to dump it out in the gravel pits in Irwindale. But one way or another, we're going to have years of these trucks coming out of here and going onto our freeways. In the meantime, I told you they're going to close roads because they're going to tear down all of these bridges and rebuild them. So there are going to be massive road closures in all this area where the red is. And people, there will be a long period of time, 5, 6, 8 years, where you're neither going to have the benefit of the completed tunnel, whatever that is in terms of traffic, but nor are you going to have the exits at Del Mar and California open and these streets open down here. So you can think about plus you go 500,000 truckloads full of dirt. So you can think about what the congestion will be. It will be a lot more people getting off here at Mountain, a a lot more people having to get off at San Rafael, a lot more people having to get off at Lake, and then backtrack into Pasadena to avoid the construction area. So, well, you can see what it's like. It could be a lot more than 5 million cubic feet. I mean, it is a, and I think Claire talked about some sites are going to have truck deletes of pollution, and then just think about the disruption for the Tournament of Roses. The Colorado Bridge is about to be closed at least a year, maybe 2, to rebuild it. And access to Huntington Hospital. I mean, these are serious concerns. The 710 will complete the freeway system. And Claire talked about, and Mike did as well, about the original plans for the freeway system. The blue on this map are the freeways that have actually been built. The orange were freeways that were proposed that have never been built. And the interesting thing about this map is every single orange freeway on this map not only has not been built, but never will be built because the communities have said, no, thank you. The Beverly Hills Freeway, the Malibu Freeway, the Whitnall Freeway through the middle of San Fernando Valley, the communities have said no, and Caltrans has listened, and all of those freeways are now off the books forever. There is only one exception on this entire map of a freeway that's still on the books. Now, why our freeway is unique and the Beverly Hills Freeway is not, I don't know. If someone's going to tell me there isn't congestion on the west side, that maybe a tunnel wouldn't help. No, our freeway is different for the reason I showed you 10 minutes ago, which is because it is on the route coming out of the industrial areas of the ports. And that's why, and frankly, because our city has not yet stood up to it and said no. Unlike Beverly Hills, unlike Malibu, unlike the San Fernando Valley, we have not stopped it. Now there are alternatives, and Mike talked a lot about them. It's not that I oppose everything. Like I said, I drive in traffic. I get it. I want things to be better, but I want intelligent things to make things better. And that means moving goods from the port and the industrial areas on rail. Put them on rail, don't put them on trucks. Trucks in an urban environment just don't mix. The Alameda corridor that goes down to the port is underutilized. Let's use it more. Other low-build alternatives, improve some intersections, buses. We've talked about the Gold Line. Extending the Gold Line east is something I'd much rather see this $700 million that they have earmarked for this tunnel used and finally finish the Gold Line all the way out to Claremont, and it would fund it. I would also like to see some improvements on the Gold Line here in Pasadena. I love the Gold Line. I don't love the Gold Line along Arroyo, at California, and Del Mar, and Glenarm. I would much rather see the Gold Line go underneath those streets, and I would much rather see Metro talking about spending a tiny fraction of these billions of dollars to do things like that, rather than build this tunnel. So, and finally, I just wanted to give a list here. These are some of the organizations that oppose the tunnel. As you can see, as Claire mentioned, City of Los Angeles, Glendale, La Cañada, Flint Ridge, Sierra Madre, South Pasadena. A lot of organizations. Unfortunately, you will not see on here the City of Pasadena yet. I hope someday we will. And one last thing I want to show you before we go, because people do think, well, is this thing for real? Why am I wasting my time? We've been talking about this thing for years. Well, this is for real this time. It really is for real this time. There has been a study ongoing now since 2011, and every month I get another one of these, and this red line here just keeps moving inexorably to the right. And to the right is this red dot here, which means they start building it. And they are planning on, and notwithstanding all the complaints, the protests, the questions, the doubts, this red line keeps moving, and as you can see, the environmental impact draft will be out come February or March of next year. Our city will only have 90 days or so to actually review this beast, which will be like 6 phone books stacked on top of each other. And then they will go on to finalize it and build it unless it gets stopped. So with that, thank you very much. And I think Claire
you very much, John. What we're going to do...
The 710 South, the area south of the 60 freeway down to Long Beach, is requiring that trucks that use those special lanes, they're going to the 710 South, the area south of the 60 freeway down to Long Beach, is requiring that trucks that use those special lanes, they're going